Hello there, villagers. Welcome to Bake With Me Warm Cinnamon Cake. So you're going to need a big bowl, several spoons, and to start with, soft margarine, 125 grams. It would work with butter equally as well, but you might need to warm the butter up. So just blob it in the bowl while we weigh out all the other things. Next, plain flour, 225 grams. For an American audience, all-purpose flour. One tablespoon of baking powder. This is just to help it rise because you're using plain flour. Half a teaspoon of salt. Everything else is tablespoons, but don't get it mixed up. It won't taste very nice. Finally, for the dry ingredients, sugar. You will need 125 grams. We're then going to mix this all together before we add the egg and the milk. But you will need 1 egg, not yet, and 6 tablespoons of milk, but don't do it yet. You've got to mix all your dry ingredients together first. So we're going to use the rub-in method, but to start with I like to use a spoon and just chop in the margarine a bit with the flour so that it gets all coated before you stick your hands in and end up very sticky. So just chop away, mix it all together, and then put your hands in and rub. If you give the bowl a shake, all your lumpy bits will come to the surface, so you'll know how far you've made it. It is quite a long process. So using the fingertips, we're looking for a breadcrumb-like texture. So keep going until it is very fine and there are no lumpy bits of margarine left. All done with that, let's go and wash our hands, and then we're going to come back and put that egg just straight in, don't need to mix it beforehand, and 6 tablespoons of milk, just enough to make a doughy sort of consistency. You might find you need slightly more or slightly less milk. What I like to do with new recipes is do it as the instructions say to start with on the first go, and then if it's something nice and I want to make it again, I adapt it as I go along. So just mix it all together until you've got a sort of sludgy dough. And then we're going to put it in the cake tin. This is the first time I've done editing with the cat that we had after Christmas. So he keeps wanting to climb all over me and add his own thoughts to the voiceover. So as you can see, it's quite a sludgy dough. This is a 2-pound bread loaf tin. I always like to put a little bit of oil in to make the paper stick to the tin, and then once the paper's in, I'll oil that too. Just to give it a bit of shape really, so that there's no gaps where the cake mixture might escape. So push the baking parchment or greaseproof paper into the tin as best you can. It often fights back. That's my ponytail. You cannot eat my ponytail. I didn't know I built my own cat toy. So now we oil the cake tin with the baking parchment in it and try and get away from the cat who wants to eat me. So this is to prevent the cake sticking to the tin or the paper. And then we're just going to blob it in. It'll sort itself out into cake properly in the oven. So as you can see, it is going to be quite a moist cake. Well, they're going to make a crumbly mixture to go on top, which gives it a nice crunch. So it's a good combination of crunchy top and moist cake. It'll all be the same colour, so you won't necessarily be able to tell until you've bitten into it. It is best served warm, but it's very nice when it's cold. But if you can wait for 20 minutes or so after you've made it to serve it, that's the best time. So that's the end of that. And then we scraped out the bowl with a spatula and just flattened it down a little bit. And that's what it looks like at this stage. Now we make the crumb topping. So in a separate bowl, bring the soft margarine back, and you'll need 75 grams. Two tablespoons of cinnamon, which I haven't measured, I've guessed by eye. And then everything else is 6 tablespoons. So 6 tablespoons of plain flour and 6 tablespoons of white sugar. You could use brown. It would just mean that your topping was a bit more colourful. And then using the rubbing in method again, you're going to end up with a crumbly mixture to pour over the top of your cake. So this is the flour going in. It's not going to make a massive cake, so you could consider doubling this and making it in a different size, different shape cake tin. It's the same again. I like to just chop in my butter, margarine for a couple of minutes to get it in, and then stick my hands in and do the rest. So rubbing in takes as long as it takes. I've sped this up so that it isn't quite as dull for you. And the cat falls off the arm of the sofa. So you can see it's not going to be fine breadcrumbs. Not entirely sure why. It can't be the cinnamon. Must just be the combination of ingredients, I suppose. So do the best you can to get it as much off your fingers as you can. Shame to waste any. And then we go wash our hands. Bring back the cake tin and spoon and or sprinkle your topping onto the top of your cake. In case it's not clear, the cake hasn't been cooked yet. It all goes in together once the topping's on. And this is what it looks like. Bake for 25 to 30 minutes in a 200 degree Celsius, 400 degree Fahrenheit gas mark 6 oven. Mine is a air fan oven, so it's never as hot. Once it's cooked, leave it cool in the oven and then take it out, cut it up and eat it. Mine did the cutting up for itself because it dipped in the middle, as you can see, but it'll taste nice, and that's the important stuff. I can touch it with my bare hands because the oven was cold, in case you're worried for me. Also, I'm defrosting the freezer, so if you've noticed in the background that my freezer door is open, that's deliberate. As you can see, it practically fell to bits because of that dip in the middle. Saves me cutting it. Here's the recipe.